Hi again, everyone. Welcome to Inside Sports. I'm Mark Keller. We are glad you're with us today. We've officially reached the home stretch of the winter season. Daylight saving time goes into effect this weekend. Spring sports teams are revving up for their season, which starts in just over 2 weeks. And the number of teams and athletes still competing in the current season is dwindling. We have 3 of the Herald Mail insiders here with us today to help get us ready for the final leg of this relay. Andy Mason sits in first to talk about high school wrestling. He'll fill us in on what happened last weekend at the region tournaments and look ahead to who has the best chance of bringing home gold from the state tournament this weekend. Then we'll talk basketball with Kevin Dunleavy and Bob Parcelletti. Only one boys team and one girls team survived to make their region finals in the MPSSAA tournaments. Kevin will tell you about the boys team that pulled an upset on the road to advance, and Bob will talk about a team looking for a return trip to the state tournament. That's what's coming up today, and Andy Mason gets us started when Inside Sports returns right after this.
Cynthia Moeller-Sullivan of Sullivan Select Real Estate has been recognized by Homelight in 3 categories: Top Overall Producer, Top Seller's Agent, and Top Agent that sells for more. Unlike other real estate venues, agents cannot pay to be recognized by Homelight. If you are considering the sale of your home, call Cynthia for a free market analysis, 301-988-5115. When it comes to real estate, select the best with Sullivan Select.
Thank you for seeing us so quickly. He's just unbearable when he's sick.
I'm glad that you came right into Meritus Urgent Care.
We have just what you need to feel better faster, young bear.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Meritus Urgent Care is located off Moggins Avenue on Creighton Boulevard. For more information, visit meritushealth.com/urgent care.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We'll start off with wrestling today. Herald Mail sports editor Andy Mason joins me. And Andy, the region tournaments held last weekend, Garrett College and Clarksburg High School. Let's start with the 2A, 1A West, and Williamsport. No surprise, they got a couple champions in the region tournament up there.
5 finalists. Mike Rektorvik, their head coach, this is his 17th season. He's had a lot of awesome teams. This is the first time he's ever had that many finalists. Wow. 5 kids in the region finals, just an excellent showing. 3 of them won titles. Landon Harbaugh at 126, Malachi Cunningham at 138, and Brandon Oyster at 220 pounds. So just an outstanding showing. And he thinks it's the most champs he's ever had as well. And based on my memory, I didn't go back and research it, but I think he's correct in saying that.
Well, Brandon Oyster, a name that we've talked a lot about this year, continues that unbeaten season. But any surprises among those 3?
Well, so Oyster, 47-0. He's the last unbeaten wrestler in Washington County. He's just having an excellent season. In the region final, he won a close decision 5-2 over a kid from Oakland Mills, and that was his first match all year that went the distance.
Wow.
Yeah, he's pinned everybody else. So, but it's nice to have that. His coach was happy. Rektorvik was happy. He got that. He got a close bout. Because he's not going to pin everyone at states. At least you wouldn't think. Maybe he will, but he probably will have some close matches. So it's nice to experience that before. It's good preparation.
Right. Landon Harbaugh, Malachi Cunningham. Among those 2, how were their finishes?
Harbaugh was excellent. Harbaugh was at Middletown last year as a freshman. And he won a region title last year at 113, so now he's a 2-time region champ. Last year he was a state runner-up as well. He sort of did. He was the 2nd seed. He has 1 loss all year to AJ Rodriguez from South Carroll, who was the top seed. However, Rodriguez lost in the semis, so Harbaugh didn't get a chance to avenge that loss. But Harbaugh was excellent. He won 8-4 in the semis against Zach Kirby, last year state runner-up at 126, and then won by major decision in the final. So he just rolled. Didn't get to face Rodriguez, though. Malachi Cunningham, bit of a surprise at 138. Here's a kid who didn't go to states last year. He comes in, goes 3-0 at regions. Each one of his matches was a very close decision. In fact, quarterfinals, he gets a last-second reversal to win. Semis, last-second takedown to win. Finals, another last-second reversal to win. And in the finals, he beat the kid who knocked him out of the regions last year, first chance to go to state. So he had an excellent tournament.
Well, congratulations, those 3 winners. Zach Starr at 106, Max Larkin at 285 were the 2 runners-up for Williamsport. Boonesboro also with 2 runners-up in the tournament there.
Yeah, Sean Reinbolt at 120 and Darby Bryant at 152. Bryant went into that region final 41-0. So he actually got pinned by a kid from Southern Garrett in the final. Now he's heading to states 41-1, but he went to states last year as a freshman at Williamsport and didn't place. Fully expect him to get on the podium this year with the season he's having.
No shame in 41-1. Kind of a new twist this year, and a girls tournament taking place here in wrestling. And Smithsburg had two champions there in the region tournament.
Yeah, Jen Hood won 117 pounds, and Allie Grossnickel at 144. Both freshmen. First year they've had this girls. Girls have, they compete with the boys all year. In the past couple years, the MPSSA has had an invitational where anyone can go. This year, it's an official state championship, and finish top 2 in the region. You go to states. It's single classification, and those girls, not a lot of participants. Both girls basically had byes to the finals, but they got to the finals. They showed up. Both won by pin. Now they'll head to states. It's a great unknown. It's still not a lot of girls. Jen Hood at 117. There are only 10 girls in her bracket at states. She's got a bye to the quarters. Allie Grossnickel, only 6 girls at 144. She's got a double bye all the way to Saturday's semifinals. As far as the caliber of talent they'll be facing, it's the great unknown. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
All right, well, let's go to the 4A, 3A West meet. That was held down at Clarksburg High. North Hagerstown, South Hagerstown have wrestlers there. Only one champion coming from North Hagerstown there.
Yeah, Thomas Mon, 132. Now he's 2-time region champ, just a sophomore. He won at 113 last year, got it done at 132 this year. He's 38-1. He finished 6th at states last year. He's good enough to win it all this year. He's an excellent wrestler.
And 3 runners-up in that region meet as well. North Isaiah Dorsey at 220, Caleb Everhart and Nick Kelball, 2 wrestlers that we've talked a lot about this year from South Hagerstown, and have runners-up finishes as well.
Yeah, Everhart definitely a little disappointing. He was a region champ last year. Didn't fell just short of defending that title this year. Lost 4-3. However, there's no reason that the kid he lost to, that they from Northwest, they're on opposite sides of the brackets at states. I think it's highly likely there's a rematch in the state final.
Okay. Well, that brings us all to the big show, which is the state tournament, which gets underway Thursday for the girls, Friday for everybody else. And Washington County with 20 qualifiers in the state tournament, kind of a standard number. Right?
Yeah, that's about, high teens, low 20s is usually what we send there. Last year, for the first time since 2014, we had no champions. And even, it was actually the first time since 2010 we didn't even get anyone to the finals. We still had a pretty good showing. I don't know the exact number, but a number of third place finishes. A lot of those guys are guys who lost in the semis to the eventual champions, so it's almost the same as getting second, but they got third. I don't see that happening this year. I think we'll have multiple finalists.
Look at the crystal ball. Got about a minute left here. Who do you see performing well and possibly bringing home gold to Washington County?
Best chances for state titles. You got Starr at Williamsport, Harbaugh at Williamsport, Oyster at Williamsport. Cunningham's a region champ, but he's got to face a stud. If he gets to the semis, the defending state champ there. I like Thomas Mon's chances. I like Caleb Everhart's chances.
Okay, all right. Andy Mason, thanks a bunch for joining us. We'll have Andy back next week to wrap us up with the state tournament. Stay with us. Kevin Dunleavy is up next to talk boys basketball.
Hello, my name is Jim Gross, and I'm very involved in our local sports community, as you may have seen me on the volleyball court, the wrestling mat, or the softball field officiating sports. I'm also the broker and owner of Absolute Real Estate, as I've been making it easy for over 20 years in Washington County for people to buy and sell homes. Call me, Jim Gross, at 301-788-7888 for absolutely the best in savings and service, and ask me about my sports organization donation program.
Thank you for seeing us so quickly. He's just unbearable when he's sick.
I'm glad that you came right into Meritus Urgent Care.
We have just what you need to feel better faster, young bear.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Meritus Urgent Care is located off Moggins Avenue on Creighton Boulevard. For more information, visit meritushealth.com/urgent care.
Access to high-speed internet is critical for school-aged children.
Since 2014, Antietam Broadband and Washington County Public Schools have partnered to connect students and families in need with low-cost, high-speed internet service at home. Every child deserves an opportunity to succeed. Ask your child's teacher for more information on the Antietam EduNet program. A message from Washington County Public Schools and Antietam Broadband.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We switch from wrestling to basketball now. Herald Mail insider Kevin Dunleavy joins me to talk boys basketball. And Kevin, only one boys team in the county survived to the region final, and maybe somewhat of a surprise in that it was North Hagerstown pulling the upset on the road against Linganore.
Yeah, they really did it with a lot of defensive pressure. They came right out in the game, established that was what they were going to do. They really extended their defense and kind of had Linganore back on their heels. They took a 13-7 lead, and Linganore kind of recovered. And but in the fourth quarter, that pressure again sort of took its toll. And Linganore, in the last 4 minutes, I think they had 7 or 6 turnovers. And North didn't do a great job on the offensive end in those, at the end, but they. Their defense was so good that, and they converted a lot of those steals into baskets that were easy. So it was a really good formula. They surprised Linganore with what they did, and I think Linganore was coming off winning a CMC title. They beat Oakdale last week. They had won 9 straight games against public schools. They were flying as high as they have in a long time. But North did this 2 years ago. They've got the capability. They can put people on their heels with their quickness, and it really worked last night.
72-71 victory for the Hubs over Linganore. Linganore, the number 1 seed in the region, and we talked about that a little bit. That Linganore really early on this season kind of set themselves apart from the rest of the bracket. Yeah. But those other teams really kind of surged late, and so not really a huge surprise that North pulled this upset.
Yeah, everybody was good in that conference. Linganore was 12-0 in the conference, but the rest of those teams were tough, and Linganore didn't really have that many close games during the regular season, but I think those other teams got better as the year went on. Certainly North did. They've won 6 in a row now. They've beaten a lot of teams that they lost to earlier in the year. They have a lot of momentum. Kevin Hartman, one of the first things he said there, we came down here feeling like we've got a lot of momentum and just have been, they weren't surprised that they did this.
We talked a couple weeks ago about the kind of surge that Alex Afori had late in the season, kind of started the start of February, and really kind of continued that in this game here against Linganore. It's really senior-driven a win over Linganore in this one.
Yeah, he's been tremendous in the last month and really assertive, and it's something you never saw from him in the past. You always saw all the talent, but again, 17 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals. And Lally Richards, a senior, 21 points, 6 rebounds, 5 steals. They were really the leaders. And another senior, Drew Hamilton, who you don't hear about as much about, he played a big role. He had 20 points, and he held one of Liganore's toughest guys, a guy named Palacios, to 8 points. Kevin Hartman said Palacios averaged 28 against him. I don't know if that was quite true, but he really tore him up this year in their 2 meetings.
So the Hubs move on to the region final. They'll take on Frederick there. Actually, that game will be being played as this show first airs on Thursday. And Frederick kind of pulling a very mild upset in knocking off probably the hottest team in that bracket in South Hagerstown.
Yeah, South, they had won 11 of 12, but they had a 10-day layoff after the regular season. Sometimes you see, especially with the younger teams, I think, that can be something hard to overcome, and it shows up early in games, and that's when they fell way behind. South recovered, got back close, and they had a chance to win it at the end, but a couple of free throws they did not make, and that was it for them. I mean, they've had a great year and discovered so much about themselves and how good they can be, and. Kind of sad to see them go down, but they played a really tough team and a similar team, and a team that's young and has a lot of depth, and it's going to be a tough matchup for North.
Yeah, maybe kind of an unexpected finish to the season in terms of the way South finished because of the way they started. They started so slowly and had some guys that they were expecting to be there not be there, and some guys really stepped up for the Rebels this year.
Yeah, I forgot the guy who plays football, the big lineman, Chris Adams. Yeah, and what an addition he would have been, and what a completion to the lineup he would have been, because that's the one thing they lacked. They didn't have a big guy, a big rebounder, and Chris really grew as a player last year as a sophomore, and unfortunately he missed the year with a knee injury from football season. But they have a really bright future with Jahan Johnson, freshman with so much speed, and Roldan Calderon Cepeda, their top scorer, is due back to a junior, and a lot of good stuff going on there, and hopefully they can carry it over.
Let's go back to the Hubs. As mentioned, playing Frederick at Frederick in that region final, and it's a good matchup here. They split their 2 games in the regular season. Yeah,
the one at Frederick was a 10-point win for Frederick, I believe, and then the one here, North was actually down by double digits in the second half and put on one of their surges, which they're so able to do because of their quickness and length and ability to really get after it defensively. Frederick is a team that's growing, though, because they've got a lot of depth, they've got a lot of youth, and they've hit their stride. They beat Oakdale recently, really quality team. They've won 5 out of 6. North has won 6 in a row. Frederick has a guy named Jaden Arrington who is similar to Ofori, a guy with a lot of length and a perimeter player with a lot of skill. Max Harraday is a 6'4", 240-pound guy inside who's been a little inconsistent, but is capable of doing big things, kind of capable of doing what Chris Adams could have done for South this year.
We've got about a minute left here. I'll talk about Williamsport, a team that really looked like they were on their way to big things, and lots of adversity in the last few weeks of the season for them, and they fell to the number 3 seed Middletown in that 2A West bracket.
Yeah, that was not unexpected. Williamsport had to struggle Saturday night to beat a winless Poolesville team, so losing 2 of their best players really hurt them this year, and understandably, they held together. Last night they had a guy, one of their key players, had the flu, and it's just so much to overcome this year, and then one more thing to overcome, and it was just too much. Caleb Bowers had 27 points, but Williamsport, the only way they could have won that game was to hit a lot of threes, and they didn't. Tough way to end the season for them, but not unexpected.
All right, Kevin Dunleavy, thanks a bunch. Stay with us. Bob Parcelletti is up next to talk girls basketball.
Cynthia Muller-Sullivan of Sullivan Select Real Estate has been recognized by Homelight in 3 categories: top overall producer, top seller's agent, and top agent that sells for more. Unlike other real estate venues, agents cannot pay to be recognized by Homelight. If you are considering the sale of your home, call Cynthia for a free market analysis, 301-988-5115. When it comes to real estate, select the best with Sullivan Select.
Introducing Antietam Smart Wi-Fi, the ultimate home networking solution. Smart Wi-Fi expands your wireless network and can eliminate Wi-Fi dead zones. Adding Smart Wi-Fi access points creates a Wi-Fi blanket for all of your devices, so you get consistent wireless internet speeds anywhere in your house. So go ahead and browse, game, and stream video in any room. Make the most of your internet with Smart Wi-Fi from Antietam Broadband. Smart homes deserve smart Wi-Fi.
Welcome back to Inside Sports. We go from boys basketball now to girls basketball. Herald Mail insider Bob Parcelletti joins me now. And Bob, we had a couple county versus county matchups here in the early rounds of the MPSSAA tournament, and we'll start with one, Smithsburg and Hancock. And this was a game that could have gone a little differently if it were an old half-court style game.
Yeah, this one was on Monday. It was in the region semifinal. And with this one, yeah, I mean, if you looked at paper, I mean, yes, records are opposite with these two teams, but they had the same kind of components. They had they each had about 2 or 3 girls that could shoot the ball. They each had a nice rebounder on the inside. They each, played well for their game. And if it would have been played at half court where, everybody was just kind of standing around passing, kind of like the old pickup games like when we were in school,
Mm-hmm.
But this game got in motion, and when it got into motion, that's when Smithsburg showed it has more ability and more experience. They're a much more comfortable team on the fly than Hancock had, I guess, experience for most of the season.
That's one of the things we've kind of talked a lot about Smithsburg this year is that that desire for them to get out and run and play the game in transition is something they did well in this game.
And I mean, I think this year they came out and they really tried to do the more patterned offense. This has been like 2 years in the making really for them because 2 years ago they were all run. They didn't play. They didn't really play a lot of defense. They just tried to outrun everybody and score a lot. Last year, when Charles Burnett came in as the coach, he decided he was going to play defense, and they played defense, and they played really, really strong defense, but they still ran a lot out of it. This year, I think they realized that they needed to keep Bailey Grove in the game as far as a rebounder goes, a little more so. And I think they originally tried to play that pattern offense again, and it didn't work. They kind of went to sleep, and it was the game against, I think it was Middletown, about midway through the season. And all of a sudden they said, we're going to just start running again. And it's worked for them. Half the battle is getting the ball up the floor, and they have 5 girls that can bring the ball up the floor. And with that, they're able to pass, get the opening shots, and make fluid offense. But, if you miss, you're running a lot.
So we'll talk a little bit more about Smithsburg coming up here in just a minute. We'll talk about Hancock, and this is a team that a really young team for the most part, but really undermanned this year. And Koli Stotler, this was kind of her swan song up there at Hancock.
Well, she there's only 7 girls on that team, and you need a lot of people, a lot of them to play well. They have a nice little core of younger players, but Koli Stotler was kind of like the baton carrier. She came in there, and she's the type of player that Coach Todd Rupenthal talked about it as being so unselfish, working so hard, playing when she's hurt, playing when she's sick. She just wanted to be out there to play with her teammates and all that stuff. But, she was one of 2 players in the area this year that could have been just jacking up shots left and right to pad the senior stats. But she was always looking for the rest of the team, passing the ball to them, trying to get stuff. Now, she picked her spots to score. She was like the 2nd leading public school scorer in the county. But, she really tried hard to work her younger teammates in so that there's a future out there.
Let's go to one of the other county versus county matchups, and that was a North Hagerstown-South Hagerstown matchup. North Hagerstown coming out in front in that one, and talked a lot about Madison Mertz this year, and again, she was the one who kind of led the way for the Hubs.
Well, she's the second one of those 2 girls that could have just been throwing up shots left and right because challenging team, young team, not a tremendous amount of help. So, a lot falls on their shoulders. And yet she was, in this game particularly, it was very noticeable that she, instead of looking for shots, she was looking for spots. She took shots when she was supposed to, but she did a lot of her stuff on defense where she was tapping balls and getting steals and starting transitions and passing off and getting the ball back, things where it's involving everybody, but she ends up scoring in the end, I mean, how many times have you seen somebody just take the ball and try to run it all the way down themselves? I mean, and not involve anybody. And Madison this year, I thought, really made a concerted effort to try to help the future of the North program, because she tried to pass the ball around. And, she had to do what she had to do in crunch time for North to pull the game out against South. But, she said it herself. She coming here and staying at a public school when she could have probably gone other places made me a leader. And she carries that.
Talk about a young team or a team that's with a future, and that's South Hagerstown. Again, not much in the way of wins this year, but a young team and some promise for the future.
Well, I really saw, it's hard when you're 1-20 or 1-21 or whatever they were, but I really saw in this game against North a couple of players that look like that, with some time, a little bit of experience, that could help South get back, to be, formidable. One was Cheyenne Price. She's a kind of a small forward shooting guard type, but she moves very well without the ball. She really, the couple of times I've seen her, each time she's done a little bit better and a little bit more. And she played really well against North. She hit some big shots, made some big moves to the basket, did some nice boxing out and stuff like that. So she's a junior, she's back. She's one of those guys, one of those players that they're going to look for. Aaliyah Creary shows a little ability on the outside to shoot, and she was playing a lot. She was one of those rim hangers where she's hanging around on the outside a lot, trying to look for the outside shot. And Paige Whittington is only a sophomore, and she's already got 2 years of varsity under her belt as a point guard. So I think those three show that there might be something coming down the road for South.
So Smithsburg, the only team from the county to advance into the region finals, and that game was played on Wednesday after we had taped this, but like we talked about, they having to go up against Catoctin, a team that had beaten them twice this year.
Well, it's kind of an interesting, the first game they played against Catoctin, I remember Charles Burnett saying that it was like the worst game they played all year. They shot like 19%, he said, and they just throw up shots, nothing was going in, nothing was working. He thought it was a case of them starting to be tiring a little bit and needed to pull back a little bit. This was before they started the running routine, though, And so they lost, and that was a home game actually, and they lost by about 13 points. They came back and they played them about 3 weeks ago, last month actually, and only lost by 8 on the road. But Catoctin seems to have a really strong defense, and I think they can run with the ball too. So this is going to be one of those games where, mistakes and droughts, I guess, where you're not scoring a lot on possessions is going to be a big part in this thing. I think, the big three for Smithsburg really has to show up in this game, in Bailey Grove and Ashley Davis and Lexi Henderson. Because they're both all the experience and they all have it from last year. But one of them's going to really, I think, have to take control for them. And right now, I think the person to do that will be Lexi, because the game they played against Hancock, she played as well as anybody I've seen in a while. And this is a girl that's coming off a bunch of injuries, and now she's finally feeling good.
Okay. Bob Parcelletti, thanks for joining us. Stay with us. We'll wrap things up right after this.
Introducing Antietam Smart Wi-Fi, the ultimate home networking solution. Smart Wi-Fi expands your wireless network and can eliminate Wi-Fi dead zones. Adding Smart Wi-Fi access points creates a Wi-Fi blanket for all of your devices, so you get consistent wireless internet speeds anywhere in your house. So go ahead and browse, game, and stream video in any room. Make the most of your internet with Smart Wi-Fi from Antietam Broadband. Smart homes deserve smart Wi-Fi.
Thank you for seeing us so quickly. He's just unbearable when he's sick.
I'm glad that you came right into Meredith's Urgent Care.
We have just what you need to feel better faster, young bear.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Meredith's Urgent Care is located off Moggins Avenue on Creighton Boulevard. For more information, visit meredithhealth.com/urgent care.
Hello, my name is Jim Gross, and I'm very involved in our local sports community, as you may have seen me on the volleyball court, the wrestling mat, or the softball field officiating sports. I'm also the broker and owner of Absolute Real Estate, as I've been making it easy for over 20 years in Washington County for people to buy and sell homes. Call me, Jim Gross, at 301-788-7888 for absolutely the best in savings and service, and ask me about my sports organization donation program.
And that's all the time we have for Inside Sports this week. My thanks to Andy Mason, Kevin Dunleavy, and Bob Parcelletti for being here today. The whole gang will be back next week to put a bow on Season 12 of our show. Don't forget to look us up on social media. On Twitter, we are at Inside Sports OL. On Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat, it's at Inside Sports Now. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you back here next week on The Inside.
Hey, your sisters and your brothers, your haters and your lovers, you gotta get up in the streets. Hey, don't complain to mother.